Hello, and welcome to a different kind of video on my channel where I'm gonna go into some pretty in-depth details about the future of our animatic series, Origins. It's basically been a very, very long and tedious project that has been going on for over 5 years. The concept is to make a prequel-sequel series to the very first cartoon I ever made on my channel, 12. But needless to say, halfway through production, I was in college and going through a lot of stuff at the time, and it never really got to see the light of day in the way that it really needed to, so that's what the mission is today. We're gonna find the best way to give the Origins reboot the reboot it deserves. Now, I've already finished season 1 of Origins, and I feel that that is good where it's at. But when it comes to season 2, I really kind of have completely developed like an entire new art style, an entire new way of doing things here on my channel. So I really want to make sure that I'm covering all my bases and making sure that it turns out the best that it absolutely can be. So I went ahead and made a great little comparison of all the different styles of animation I could possibly use, and we're gonna weigh the pros and cons of each one. To start, I basically took one scene from Origins. It's a Rose and Violet scene that I thought would be really fun to kind of give it a little bit of new life and kind of test things out. Original animatic.
Hey, so you're, Violet?
Yep, you must be Rose.
Yeah, that's me. We just moved here a few days ago.
Wow, that sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was.
So, you're Violet? Nice to meet you. I'm Aster.
Aster, nice. Hey, if you guys ever need someone to hang with, you can always count me in.
Starting off with the very first animatic style. This is the original animatic style, which is basically I would go into an animation program, draw everything out from backgrounds to characters to effects. I basically get to like mass export layer by layer, so it was really great. It was just like literally almost instant. I would have like thousands of frames exported, but the only problem with that is that I then had to take all of those frames and then individually tween them in another program, very tediously so. And that's kind of how the style of Origins came about, that little crossfade, kind of like slightly tweened, kind of moving pictures kind of style, was this original kind of idea of taking the animation program and then just doing most of the heavy lifting for the quote-unquote animation in the editing program. I want to show you guys up close and personal exactly what I mean about the differences between these programs. So this is the original animatic, and the way that I used to do it was I would listen to the audio separately, and then I would draw all of the storyboard frames, and then I would go in and I would kind of do each scene, and if I press play, it's literally just the entire episode, but on various layers, and you can't really hear anything or check anything. It's just kind of like the speed version of the episode. But everything is on these separate layers, so there's background layer, then there's a layer for, you know, character 1 layer, character 2 layer, character 3 layer, there's a layer for the frog. It's kind of this really tedious, like, weirdly layered thing where I could barely see what the output was gonna be like, making things look really disproportionate and funky sometimes, and it just keeps going back and forth, and it just kind of looks strange to work on, which is a motivation killer for me. It just really doesn't work, in my opinion. Lighting was just really ugly to me. Like, it just doesn't look right, because the program doesn't have any overlays or anything like that, so it just really didn't look the best, in my opinion. The artwork's really wobbly and inconsistent. And this is kind of what it was like the plain background, nothing really moves. Like, if I had the new animation style, that pond in the background could be moving, and the leaves could be moving, and the wind, and we could have a little bit more detail going on. But instead, this is kind of the really painful process I'd have to go through, and then export each one of these different colored layers, each one, and I'd have to export it like, okay, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and then it'd be like, layer 1, frame 1051, and I'd be like, okay, is that the one I need or what? It was just, it's a lot. So what are the pros of this original animatic style? The pros are this one is the least amount of time to draw, hands down. This one takes the least amount of time to draw out of all 3 different styles. This one is the fastest. It's also just using a program that's built for animation, which, by the way, is really handy when you're trying to make an animatic. Trust me, it really does make a huge difference. And it has the fast exporting, which I can do like thousands of frames in just a couple of minutes. And then the background work is going to be really, really easy, really quick. I've got a really good style for backgrounds going. And the best part about it is that if I continue in the same exact kind of formatting, it will exactly match the previous episode's artwork closely enough that I'm going to continue where we left off on Cypress's episode, which means we only have to complete half a season's worth of episodes to complete season 2 entirely. But oh boy, here are the cons. This style requires multiple programs. I mean, I'm animating everything in one program and then jumping over to the editing program to cut everything up to timing it right and then tweening it all individually frame by frame. Very tedious. It has less quality artwork. The quality on the animation program dips drastically because it is built for animation. It's not really built to be like a big, beautiful animatic style. It's definitely a little more scrungly and the artwork just isn't as crisp or vibrant, unfortunately. And then, yeah, it does require a ton of editing. Like, I can't even tell you how many hours worth of editing per episode. Maybe somewhere upwards of 20 plus hours of just editing. It is kind of nightmarish because of the individual tweening of frames. It is like I have to create one point and then a new point, and then they have to move. And it's like moving every single one and figure out what direction it's gonna go, and it's just a lot of work. And also, a negative of this is that I don't have a playback feature. I can't press play and see how it's gonna turn out. I have to wait until basically the very end to see how anything's going to look, which is a huge motivation killer. If you animate, you know. Half of the fun of animating is watching it slowly come to life and hitting play over and over again just to see how it's all coming together. I can't do that with this style. I also will not be able to do any shading or lighting with this style. It would just add on even more time that I'm already losing so much to the editing. It would just probably kill me, actually. And with that, I also can't do any animated effects because the green screen effect would kind of mess with everything. So it would have to be like non-animated effects, which is not as impressive for sure. And of course, the biggest con I feel is no lip syncing. It is just flat images and voiceover, essentially. All that being said, this is the OG. You can't really beat it. It's how I started everything on my channel. It's literally following exactly what we did for 12. And while that's great and all, it could be a little outdated. So it's definitely like the second option for me. New animatic.
Hey, so you're, Violet?
Yep, you must be Rose.
Yeah, that's me. We just moved here a few days ago.
Wow, that sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was.
So, you're Violet? Nice to meet you. I'm Aster.
Aster, nice. Hey, if you guys ever need someone to hang with, you can always count me in.
With the new animatic, I'd be using a completely different program to do the artwork. It wouldn't be built for animation. I'd be using a program called Clip Studio Paint, which is essentially more so just an artwork kind of program where you can make comics and you can use models and you can use all these really awesome fancy features. And they also have really, really amazing overlays and really, really, really good types of brushes and things to make the artwork look so good. I mean, it is gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. It is beautiful. But the painful thing is that anytime I wanted a pattern, I had to draw it and then cut and paste it onto something and then erase it, and it was just a whole mess. I don't have any stamp tools, essentially. And I had to individually shade and do the lighting on each individual frame, which was extremely tedious. Oh my goodness. Does it look beautiful? Yes. Was it painful? Yes. And the backgrounds are really detailed, all the lighting and everything went a little crazy, and sometimes I think it looks a little too realistic for how cartoony my characters look. It looks beautiful, but enough at the same time I'm like, I don't know. There's something about it that feels a little off or uncanny to me. But that could just be me nitpicking my own thing. But as you can see, I have all of the characters just kind of like layered on here, where all of Aster's are right here, where he's supposed to move. And then I have all of the roses, and then all of the violets. But I had to individually export these transparent so I can tween them all. And it's really, really tedious. So it was, again, just 3 backgrounds, but it did take quite some time, and I didn't really enjoy doing them too terribly much because of how detailed they were. I honestly ended up rushing part of it because I just had no motivation, because I spent all my motivation in like the first half and then got really burned out towards the last half. And all the shading and lighting was also quite taxing towards the end, as beautiful as it is. So there's a lot of inefficiency when it comes to this kind of style, as beautiful as it is. It's just really truly not worth it to me. So the pros, obviously, this is going to be the highest quality artwork you're going to get. It's going to be the best, most beautiful animatic you've ever seen. It will definitely include the shading and lighting. It will have all of the bells and whistles that makes it look stunning. It's just gonna look beautiful. And personally, I believe that this style will also follow the previous episode's artwork close enough to continue where we left off. Even though it is going to be slightly jarring with all of the new fancy features, I do think it would just be a good idea to just finish the second half of season 2 just to get it done in this kind of new animatic style. So that way I'm a little more comfortable in using my newer art style, and we get to use some of those lovely redesign that I made for all of the characters. But also we're not having to redo absolutely everything. Now the cons. This one is gonna take the most amount of time to draw. I'm not gonna lie. I was dragging my feet trying to make the example. It was literally like pulling teeth. This program is not built for animation whatsoever. It is definitely just a drawing program. I had to export each little frame bit by bit, and it took so long to export because of how high quality it was. It's just, it's very tedious. This is the most tedious one by far. It also still needs the multiple programs. So yes, on top of the drawing time now being the longest amount of drawing time, now it's also going to be the longest amount of editing time too, because I also have to continue what I used to do in the original by individually tweening all the frames and hand cutting every single frame to match the timing, and a separate program with no playback feature once again, because I'm doing it in a drawing program, not an animation program, and it's just the slowest exporting, the most painful exporting I've ever had to do in my entire life. I only had to export like maybe 30 pictures to make this little clip, and it was so tedious. It took like 10 minutes. It was ridiculous. Like, I would be there for hours just exporting things. And the backgrounds, as beautiful as they are, the backgrounds are really tedious. They're very detailed, and it takes a longer amount of time. And then of course the animation effects will not be there either, because I can't animate in that program. There's no kind of layering to do that. There's no way to export a GIF. There's no way to export everything, green screen it, all that good stuff. This program just will not allow it whatsoever. And then again, no lip syncing for this animatic style, because it's just still images. This program is not versatile enough to include everything I need to create that kind of animation. So this is definitely my least preferred option. As beautiful as it is, it looks great. I really like how it looks. I just don't think it's realistic for completing like 6 episodes worth of stuff, like 20-minute episodes worth of this. Like, I did 30 seconds and it took me maybe 7 hours to do. Like, that is so unnecessarily tedious. So this is my least preferred option, but hey, at least we get to see how cool it would look, right? In theory. New animation.
Hey, so you're, Violet?
Yep, you must be Rose.
Yeah, that's me. We just moved here a few days ago.
Wow, that sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was.
So, you're Violet? Nice to meet you. I'm Aster.
Aster, nice. Hey, if you guys ever need someone to hang with, you can always count me in.
Now for the new animation that I can never stop gushing about. I basically put this into the Persona Project style. All my shorts and TikTok animated styles. I basically combined everything to see what it would be like to kind of fully animate this. When I say fully animate, I mean this is like mostly animated. It's like as animated as it could be without being like extremely tedious and having to do a lot of in-betweens and a lot of retracing and all that fun stuff to make it like really really, really, really smooth. It's just like a kind of a fun, bouncy kind of vibe, just like Persona Project and all my TikToks. Basically, I go in, I upload the audio of the scene, so I get to play it back in real time. It's at 24 frames per second, and then I get to go through and I do my storyboard, and then I do my backgrounds, which this one only had 3 backgrounds. It's 1, 2, 3. Very simple backgrounds. I also made a stamp of the leaves, so that way I could just sprinkle the leaves around and I didn't have to draw a bunch of those leaves. They're just literally a tool I drew once and then sprinkled them everywhere, and it's beautiful. The backgrounds are also highly stylized, and they really look adorable and just really match the cartoon characters so well. And then I go through and I do my character layers. So there's layer 1, which is the back layer, the layer that has the character that's in the furthest of the background. Layer 2 has more characters, layer 3 has more characters, and then we have some effects here and there that are animated. So if I zoom in, you can see that Rose's little blush is animated and fades in and out, which is a really fun feature that I couldn't do in any of the other styles. There's also little animations like the handshake that just kind of adds this little fun little detail, and all the frames do a little bounce. The little bounce is such an easy thing to do. It's just 2 squish frames pretty much, and then the characters get to bounce around as they move, and it's just really fun and simple. All the lip sync is also a stamp. I just make a stamp of each person's different mouths, and then I literally just stamp it on depending on what I need. And so we have this really highly efficient, really fun little animation. Like the tails get to wag. It's only just a few layers. Like this is like a minimal amount of layers, and when I export it, it just exports as a movie file, and it's done, and that's it. It's very easy, very simple. I really, really love this. I can't not stop raving about how good this style is. So the pros, there are so many pros to this. It is pretty good quality artwork. I mean, as you can see, it's pretty crisp, it's pretty smooth, everything looks very uniform. It's definitely not the highest quality like the really, really beautiful new animatic, but it's definitely better than the original. And the drawing time is relatively fast. Honestly, I've gotten so quick at making Persona Project episodes that making this was just as fast. Like, I can make 1 minute in 5 hours, 6 hours, which is really good for full animation, lip sync, background, everything done, like, within that time too, by the way. So, very fast. Not the fastest, but definitely the second fastest. And it uses a single program. Holy guacamole, it uses a single program. It stays all in the animation program. I do everything in here. Everything I need is in one place. I don't have to spend all that time exporting and tweening every single thing. I can do it all here. And the exporting is instant. Instant. I can just export it and plop it into the editing program, and it's already in the final form. Like, it's perfect. The backgrounds will also be very quick and easy because they won't have all these details and shading and lighting and stuff, and it'll just kind of match this kind of cartoony style I've got going on. And I feel the best part is that we're gonna get these fun animation effects like the leaves falling, the lightning flashes, all the really fun little details that are gonna make this so special. It's gonna stand out so much more when I have those little tiny things, just like how Persona Project has its little animated moments. Oh, it's gonna be beautiful in a whole different way. And it's gonna include lip syncing, which I feel is like just a must anymore. Like, it definitely helps me keep my attention when I'm watching things. I have a hard time watching the animatics because of the lack of lip syncing for me personally, so this is like a really good thing, and I've really gotten good at it thanks to Persona Project. This requires minimal editing. Like, I'm so serious, all I gotta do is plop down the animation, plop down the audio, and it's like done in the editing program. Like, it's just literally everything is gonna be done in one place. No individual tweening of frames. It has the playback feature, which is phenomenal, by the way, so I can literally just go back and listen to everything and really fine-tune all the little details, make sure everything's synced up exactly, and it's gonna be a lot more precise. And I think the funniest part about all of this is a little bonus as a pro. The new animation allows for some really silly animation errors, and then we end up with things like these silly little memes that I just accidentally make, and it's really funny. So that's honestly just a fun part of the new animation style. And onto the cons, there isn't really a whole lot of cons. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's just no shading and lighting. And then the biggest con, which is the con that has not come up so far, which is having to completely redo the first half of season 2 to match the drastic new art and animation style change. This means I'm gonna have to like start season 2 over from scratch and completely reanimate 6 episodes. and then animate 6 new episodes. So there's going to be 12 episodes total that need to be animated and reanimated. So that is kind of the biggest concern of mine. But honestly, with all of this testing I have done and all of the meticulous notes I have taken while doing this, the amount of time that it takes, the amount of energy it took, the motivation that I had, all of the important things to make a series come to life, it seems that the new animation is going to be my top choice. I really think I'm going to end up going with this. I really think it would make Hawley and Parker era very happy to see it come to life in a way that they never could have imagined. It's also just where I want to go with my channel. I want all of my animated series to look like this in the future. I want them to be more animated. The animatic style was pretty much to get a concept out into the world and just see what it was like to make a story. It was just a lot of learning, and I feel like I've outgrown it. It's very inefficient for me now. I've definitely grasped everything that I have learned from Persona Project, and I really think I want to carry it over to everything else that I do on my channel. Here's a brief comparison of all 3 styles side by side, just to show you how different each one is.
Hey, so you're, Violet?
Yep, you must be Rose.
Yeah, that's me. We just moved here a few days ago.
Wow, that sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was.
So, you're Violet? Nice to meet you. I'm Aster.
Aster, nice. Hey, if you guys ever need someone to hang with, you can always count me in.
So I hope you have enjoyed seeing this little process and really seeing me break everything down. And I hope that you maybe have learned something about the kind of behind the scenes process of animatic versus animation, because it is quite different and I've learned a lot in the 10 years that I have been doing it. And I really think that the new animation style will suit Origins really, really well. It's just gonna be one of those things where we're gonna have to continue to be patient because I'm gonna have to reanimate a lot of it, obviously. But hey, we finally get to use those new designs that I made all the videos about. We get to use every single one of them now, which is superb. And also, I'll be sharing a lot of the process. I'll be animating and live streaming and showing off what it's really like to make something like this come to life on a larger scale than Persona Project. These are gonna be 20-minute, 30-minute long episodes in comparison to 1 minute. So it'll definitely be probably like an episode a month type of thing. Just like the good old days if you've been around since 12. I basically made an episode a month when I made 12. So we'll get to that point in the far future. I don't have a current release date or anything on Origins so far. The scripts are still being polished and it's kind of in the background because Persona Project is my main project and Brightside is my second main project currently. So this is a back burner thing. I just really wanted to give a little update on Origins and give you some fresh new ideas and content to kind of enjoy in the meantime. Nevertheless, I see you Origins fans. I appreciate you guys. You guys are super patient and super awesome, and I hope that you're very excited to see what's to come in the future because I know I am, and it'll be so cool when we finally get everything kicked off and rolling, hopefully very soon. But until then, gamers, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!